Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 617 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian.
Gotta tell you something funny about that. When I get the transcription, when I do go in and to create the audio podcast, I get a transcription of everything, and oftentimes it mishears what you say. It's kids and cubs, not kits and cubs, and it says do, and it says eliminate repeated words. I'm like, no, don't do that. The algorithm doesn't understand, right?
So I guess I shouldn't be going do.
Yeah, it's just gonna drive it crazy. I've been meaning to tell you that, and I forgot about it, and I was like, it was in my head. I got to tell you now before I forget again. But yeah, it's kind of I get a kick out of that. And the other thing is, it wants to eliminate words like okay, I get that, but it also wants to eliminate well, right, like, so.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, yes, it makes sense to eliminate those words, but oftentimes it does not. So I have to tell it, don't eliminate repeated words, because you go do, and there'd be silence.
Oh no!
Right?
To err is human.
Yes.
To forgive is divine.
I mean, the program works very, very well, but it's not the be all end all. You have to still. That's why it takes so long to transcribe, because I still have to go in and fix things that the software doesn't catch. So
yeah, like well and so are actual words.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then.
And what's the first word you say? Well,
exactly. Oh God, it must be a nightmare.
It can be, yes. Yeah. I mean, it's very effective software, and it does a very good job. But
yeah. All right. Let's see. Where are we today? Recording day is Friday. Thank God I'm Friday, and I am rocking some really good hair today. I've got curls and ringlets and the whole thing going on. Friday, April 4th, 2025, and looks like it's going to be a nice day at the Beaver Lodge here. Again, a little cloudy to start the day, but yesterday we did get the sun break through and had a little bit of warmth on our skin, which was really nice. Some people took the jackets off, but I kept mine on still. But
I was able to sit on a patio for a little bit.
We were hoping that there was one open yesterday, but there was not.
Elgin Beer Project, they don't really take their patio. They just have picnic tables, so they don't put them away for the winter. They're there year round. So yeah, we were able to sit on the patio for a little bit. However, they only open at 5, and by 5:30 the sun is low enough in the sky that the apartment building right next to Elgin Street Diner blocks the sun.
Yep.
So it's like, it
got cool quickly.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas the pump, you know how the lower patio is, and they don't have the tarp up yet.
Right.
the covering. So it's not open, unfortunately. If it was open, it would be nice and toasty warm because the sun just traps in there. But anyway,
Yep.
I was
Yep,
on a
yep.
patio yesterday.
Yep. No, the patio at the pub is really nice. It's a
Yes.
good place to be if you can get a seat.
Yes,
It's open.
It's a busy spot.
It's very popular. All right, kids and cubs. Uh, playing with 3D goes, you'll end up getting copyright strikes from Baby Shark song people. Doot, doot, doot. I love it.
There's a good opportunity for that. Yeah, for sure.
The kids are great. We had that though for like a period for about 2-3 weeks, like in January or February, where somebody on Facebook was always like claiming a copyright on something, and then I'd
Yes.
go back to like the timestamp that they claimed copyright. Sometimes they like claim like 12 of them in one show, and I'm looking,
No.
it's just me talking.
Yeah.
Where's the copyrighted material? It's
Yes,
my face.
There's somebody trying to mess with us, is what it is, right?
Well, it stopped after like 2 weeks of declining them, like every time, like immediately as soon as they popped up. But like I'm sitting there and I'm going like, this. I mean, I would love for this to be copyrighted, but it's not. It's just my
Well,
face, man.
Well, and you remember we had to get Joseph Paul something had to write new music for us because
Yes.
the music that I had actually bought and paid for on Canva, licensed music through Ben Sound.
Yes.
Not Ben Sound, Epidemic Sound is actually who it's from. Licensed, purchased, bought. I had the rights to use it every time. YouTube would come back with a copyright violation, and every time I had to go protest, and every time I won. But having to do it every single day for every show is a pain in the butt.
Oh yeah.
And not only it slows things down because they will hold up any the monetization aspect gets held up. Anyway, I'm babbling about technology here. Let's get to the show. Sorry.
Let's see. We got through the date so far. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsor. We're chatty today. The Peppermaster, the Mysteries from Corv Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca.
And you notice I changed it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I worked on it and got it done yesterday. So.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our sponsor will be very happy, especially since I've been getting it wrong for quite a long time.
Well, and I couldn't change the visual though because I don't have anything. I went to the website and there's nothing that I could pull to use that said Psychic Tarot. You know how the Canadian Tarot one I've got?
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe I'll see if I can pull that image and just swipe out the top bar and put Psychic Tarot. I'll have to
that would be good.
Photoshop some stuff.
Yeah, that would be good. Okay. So how's your mental health doing today, sir?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I would guess so.
Yeah. I'm feeling oddly chipper. Woke up with a terrible sinus headache, but I took an leave, and that seems to be helping a little bit. I don't know if allergy season has begun yet or not. There is snow mold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that will affect me, but I'm not. I don't know if the sinus headache is brought on by that or not. We'll find out. It's definitely not a pressure system because it's nice and sunny out right now. So
yeah. Well, if it hasn't started hitting you yet, touch wood.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I am in a good mood, but today I'm like you. I'm the one that woke up feeling hungover, even though I hadn't had a drink.
That kind of sucks, huh? That's just wrong.
And I consumed a lot of water yesterday, and I am a night sweater as well, and not particularly last night, so I really can't explain it. I just woke up like, ooh.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. It's not
feeling better now. It didn't last very long, but it lasted about like 30 minutes or so. And then
and I was talking to a couple of friends about that the other day, and I said, if I'm going to wake up feeling like that, at least give me the decency of earning the right to feel that way. Just don't make me feel that way.
Yeah, I should have had a double something.
Yeah, right.
Somewhere along the way.
It's just not fair.
I am also in a good mood, Mr. Grizzly, because yesterday I picked up my copy of It Has Arrived.
I'm going to go.
I know that there's.
Street. I can't afford it today, but I'm going to go up the street and pick it up at one of my local booksellers.
That's where I went to. I went to my local bookstore. Buy Canadian, supporting Canadian authors, supported my local bookstore. So please do that if you have the opportunity. For those of you, I know that there's a lot of people going to be reading it. So I thought maybe we could. I'm not exactly sure how you book club, but maybe we could book club it a little bit. So if there's other people
Maybe.
reading it at the same time, when they get through a few chapters, maybe record a little thing, and if people want to pop in, and if they're reading it too, or
I'd
we
love
can
to
look at it,
narrate it for Mark,
that would be really cool.
but it's not available on Audible. So I don't know if he wants, like, I'd happily narrate it for him. I'd give
Oh
him the
yeah,
file, and then he could distribute it as he saw fit. I don't know.
that
Maybe I'll reach out to him.
that would be cool. Um,
We
so
should see if we can get him on the show to talk about the book. Actually,
I've asked a couple of times. He seems to be really busy because
yeah.
there was a moment he was going, well, I'll do any show, because apparently it seems he was being turned down for some reason. But yeah, it's you know, you have to make. I don't have a direct address for him, so I
Yeah.
have to send a message on Twitter and then hope he actually has to see it, right? And just because I wrote it doesn't mean you see it.
Right. That's true. Well, I'll
When it
send
goes
him a
by.
message. I'll send him a message later today.
Yeah. But yeah, if we've invited him a couple of times, so that's why I went out and bought it, because I figured if at some point we get him to say yes, I would like to know a little bit what I'm talking about.
Well,
Get
his
somewhat
last
into it.
book. It's not his last book, but he did had a book after that. But Big Men Fear
Yes.
Me is his book that I was there for. He read a passage and presented something from the book at that same little bookstore up the street, small independent bookstore. It's right next to a right next to a dispensary.
Ah, yes.
You know.
Oh, well. So today, a couple of little tidbits before we get into it, kits and cubs. Um, the verdict that we were awaiting in the Tara Litch and Chris Barber trial has come down, and to no surprise to us, anyway, they have been found guilty.
Yes. As
Yes,
expected.
as
And the
expected.
Crown is also appealing Pat King's
Yes, yeah,
sentence.
rather light sentence
Yes.
according to the Crown, because the Crown pushed for the maximum on that one. But this from the Canadian Press. Freedom Convoy organizers Tamara Litch and Chris Barber have been found guilty of mischief for their roles in the 2022 mass protest in Ottawa. Litch and Barber were key figures and organizers in the protest that saw hundreds of vehicles and thousands of people occupy downtown Ottawa and insist they would stay until COVID-19 public health mandates were eliminated. In finding the two guilty of mischief, Ontario Court Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh said the evidence shows that the two routinely encouraged people to join or remain at the protest, despite knowing the adverse effect it was having on downtown residents and businesses, because they did not give a shit. It was depraved indifference.
Exactly.
The defense argued that Litch and Barber called for peaceful protests and blamed any disorder on public and city officials. Oh, yes. I call for peaceful protest, and then go out and do a whole bunch of unpeaceful things. But I called for peaceful protest. Yeah, well, you got to follow through. Calling for peaceful protest is not enough. You actually have to protest peacefully and lead by example.
Exactly.
While reading her decision, Perkins McVeigh repeatedly quoted Barber's TikTok videos, which he used to communicate with the protesters as evidence the duo encouraged people to take part in the protest despite the known harms to residents and businesses. In one of these videos, Barber talked about an empty intersection being lonely and said that someone should fix it. He also said that if protesters' trucks were removed by authorities, they would be replaced. My goodness, I had to watch all these TikToks because words themselves don't really do them justice, Perkins McVeigh told the court. You need to see the sarcastic tone or hear it. You need to watch those TikToks, and I did. That's why transcripts sometimes are not enough. Perkins McVeigh went on to talk about how Barber enjoyed a sort of celebrity status in videos depicting his walks around the convoy, and Litch was seen as the leader. She said that when either Litch or Barber said something, it carried meaning with the protesters. Perkins McVeigh found Litch and Barber not guilty of intimidation and counseling someone to commit intimidation. Okay. I find it hard to assume how holding a protest that keeps people hostage for 4 weeks is not some form of intimidation, but I guess maybe the charge was very specific to a certain thing.
I don't know.
I didn't see the full charge, right? Perkins McVeigh said intimidation carries a sense of menace or violence. She said the evidence does not support that charge because Litch and Barber repeatedly call for protesters to remain peaceful. Yeah. They called for it.
Yeah.
Did they have any reasonable expectation that it was going to happen? Or again, did they just call for it for form?
Hey,
We'll call for peaceful. That way they can't blame us later.
Whatever you do, just don't do that thing with it. We told you to do. Stop doing that thing that we told you to do. They didn't stop. I told them to. I told them to stop.
Yeah. Barber and his lawyer, Diane Magus, left the courthouse without comment Thursday afternoon. Oh, now he has nothing to say. Yeah. Lawrence Greenspan, sorry, that was bitchy. Lawrence Greenspan's lawyer said it was a better afternoon than morning, referring to the lone guilty verdict for his client coming before lunch break. Was it Meatloaf who said 2 out of 3? Well, 5 out of 6 ain't bad, Greenspan quipped. So I guess the good lawyer worked, got him off on everything except for one. He added that he can't comment on the mischief verdict or other matters that are still before the court. I guess it helps to have money supplied by other people for your legal defense to get the best you can.
Look, Lawrence Greenspan is the lawyer you want. He is.
Yeah, I know that, but I have an objection with them using that money that they raised, arguably illegally, for purposes of defending your crimes.
Except he was taking that case pro bono.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
So what's with the money?
Oh yeah, that's true. No,
and Ezra Levant and Rebel News are already starting to grift.
Yeah.
They're already trying to crowdfund her appeal. I'm like, but it's pro bono.
Well, the appeal might not be.
Well, no, that's true. Maybe Lawrence Greenspan will just walk away. I don't know. I don't know.
Litch and Barber were also found not guilty of obstructing police and counseling someone to obstruct police. Both were arrested without incident ahead of a mass police enforcement operation that began on February 18th, 2022 to end the protest entirely. Barber was found guilty of counseling others to disobey a court order for telling people to ignore an injunction issued by a judge directing convoy participants to stop honking their truck horns in downtown Ottawa. Litch was not charged with that offense. Another charge of counseling others to commit mischief was stayed at the request of the Crown because it was no longer necessary due to the mischief conviction. Justice Perkins McVeigh had enough evidence to render a guilty verdict. Perkins McVeigh read an abbreviated version of the 105-page verdict in an Ottawa courtroom Thursday over the course of approximately 4 hours. Litch and Barber were greeted by supporters as they arrived at court Thursday morning. One woman ran up to give Barber a hug while others shouted expressions of support. Litch broke into a smile as her supporters yelled, "We love you, Tamara," as she entered the courthouse accompanied by Greenspan. Court will reconvene on April 16th to set a sentencing date. Given that they were only convicted on 1 of the 6 charges, I'm going to guess it's going to be a very, very, very short sentence and probably time served again.
Possibly.
Unfortunately, and I do hope that the Crown appeals.
Well, we'll find out what sentencing is. I don't even know when it is. Does it?
Yeah,
say
but I mean, they were only found guilty on 1 of the 6 charges.
Yeah. But the most egregious mischief.
Yes.
That can carry a sentence of up to 10 years.
It can.
So they're probably just going to get the same thing, 1 year house arrest, which means the ankle monitor and, they can do whatever they want. But that's okay because you know what? There's certain things you can't do while you're under house arrest, and you know damn well they can't help themselves.
Oh, they'll do it anyway. Yeah.
It's the scorpion and the frog. It's in their nature.
Yep. It's just who they are. All right. Ultimately very unsatisfying. I mean, how would I put it? I know that, listen, I'm not a judge. I'm not a legal expert. A fair sentence would have been, you're subject to house arrest, and for the time you're there, everybody can show up and honk on your lawn. But that would disturb the rest of the neighbors, so that's not really great. I don't think it sends a great example that you can coordinate some type of effort like that.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else sort of slips by because, it wasn't really. They said remain peaceful, I guess, but nothing about that thing was peaceful.
Nothing.
They did counsel to do intimidation, but there was nothing about that thing that wasn't intimidating. I mean, the people showed up with an MOU to try to overturn the government.
Correct.
It was all about intimidation.
They're saying that wasn't them. No, that wasn't Chris Barber, and it wasn't Tamara Leach. No. But one of the guys who helped organize the whole thing. Yeah,
it's one of those things that we do in Canada. Everybody had a part in it, so nobody's guilty.
Yeah, that's not.
We can't pinpoint the person. It's like that's the same way that people got off in the Creever blood inquiry.
Right.
Yes. There were so many people that made the decision. We can't really but there was somebody ultimately who signed their name on a piece of paper and said, "Do it. Let's start with them, maybe," because a lot of people died.
Yeah.
Right? Well, so many people took part in making the decision. We can't really. No, you can. The buck always stops somewhere. Someone has final signing authority. So that's the part that upsets me. Oh, it's just a ragtag ad hoc group of people. We can't really, when it's like one person says something, we can't hold people responsible for how they interpret your words. Says, yeah, but when you do it consistently over a period of 3.5 weeks in one place, and all the time you've been doing it before the lead up to that, maybe you can establish that there's a pattern behavior here.
Hmm.
Maybe. But apparently the legal standards are different. So that like Mr. Grizzly says, I don't have to like it. But I do understand that I am limited in my knowledge of the elements presented in case and of how the law works and all that kind of stuff. But yes, the Pat King sentence was unsatisfying. Although
I
I do
accept it.
take, although the fact that he was lost a lot of his liberty actually before the decision came down actually was somewhat satisfying. But and same thing for Lich. But it just you get these cases where you just like it just seems like it deserved more.
Hmm.
Considering the economic disruption, the number of people's lives were disrupted, people who couldn't get to important medical appointments, people were afraid to leave their home, the disabled who couldn't go and get groceries, or the streets weren't cleared, or everything, right? It just seems that it deserves more. The amount of airtime in the media that went to it, well, like
Yes.
it was a bigger event. It just seems like it deserves more.
Again, I didn't like the sentence, but I accept it. I'm
Mhm.
not a lawyer. I'm not in the legal field. And here's the other thing too. It really doesn't impact my life that much. So
No.
I'm not going to be out screaming, protesting that he should have got more like some people would
Yeah.
because they, I don't know, get a life, man.
There's a portion of this that once they left,
Mhm.
like yes, you want justice to be done. Why not? And it's like here we are, like 3 years later,
Mhm.
we're getting a sentence. But it's like there's part of this is like once they left, okay, let's just not talk about them ever again and pretend
Yeah. I'm
that they
done with
never
it.
were.
Done with it.
Just
You
done
know,
with it, like this. But there was so much law breaking,
it was an
so much law
absurd,
breaking.
insane time. There's nothing I've ever experienced in my life was like that, and I hope I
Ugh.
don't ever have to go through it again.
Same here.
But if I do have to ever go through it again, I will behave in the exact same manner.
Mhm. Yep. And I hope now that we have that federal court decision on what is constitutional, what is not, and on the things that were unconstitutionally done, how is you can go back to get them done constitutionally.
Mhm.
That if there is a next time, they will not be allowed to even establish themselves, because that was the original sin. The original sin there was the auto police
Yes.
who somehow manufactured. Well, vehicles have rights.
It's like we can't block them out. Bullshit. You do it on Canada Day every year. You can shut down any street you want to vehicular traffic.
I know.
That's not a constitutional violation in any way, shape, or form.
But that was the original sin. That
Yeah.
was the thing that allowed all the other stuff to happen, was that damn stupid decision.
And that was the police chief.
Yep. And he's gone.
Yes.
So, thankfully, on that one, because that was dumb. All right. Kits and Cubs, into it. Obviously, yesterday was pretty much all about the response to what IQ 47 has decided to unleash on the world. And despite the fact that Canada and Mexico, and of course Russia, were spared additional tariffs, we still had the steel and aluminum ones pop up. And the President of the United States is musing aloud about certain more tariffs to come in specific strategic sectors like lumber and semiconductors and stuff of the like. So we're not done yet. There's a lot of people thinking that, okay, he's done his worst. Here it is. We seem to have gotten away. Well, that put the issue on the side for the rest of the election campaign. Now, the Conservatives are hoping that that's the case because that's why they've been running the campaign that they've been running, pretending like tariffs are really, really not a thing unless they really come up and they absolutely have to address it, but running the campaign like Trump is not a thing and all that kind of stuff because they're hoping that, hey, maybe if Trump did something like he did, went easy on us from that, well, that would put the issue away for the rest of the campaign. And then they can talk about the stuff that they've been talking about for the last, 2 years that got them to the 46 as if those rules still apply. And that's still the reality. But that is their hope. It's like Trump did such a good job of making sure that we weren't in it. Now we don't have to talk about that anymore. So let's talk again about how Canada sucks and you're worthless and weak, like we've been doing the last 2 years. So that's basically the Conservative gamble.
Yes.
Here. That's not going to happen because, again, we have all these, maybe there will be a little more, but what we're going to have is we're going to have reaction from all the other nations now. And we're going to have markets going up and down and sideways and all around. And all of these things are going to be news items that are going to remind us every day. And every day as smaller nations and major nations announce what their responses will be, that will be in the news as we see new alliances and new deals form between nations that have been targeted like this. That will be in the news. So it will just constantly be in the news, whether or not Trump dangles another tariff before the end of the election or not. So I don't see the Conservative, I don't see the tides turning for the Conservatives to get the conditions that they need for their previous campaign to suddenly start working mid-campaign. Okay, now we're done with tariffs. We know what the deal is. We can get back to the regular stuff.
Well, I have a clip here of, this just came into my feed. It's only a minute. I want to share this because it's Pierre Poilièvre.
Yeah, we're probably going to show that later, but okay. All right.
Oh, okay. I didn't
No,
see
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. We need a plan going forward, a plan that is both strong and effective.
This should be good. Let's hear his plan.
And I want to break that down into 3 parts. Obviously, 1, we need an immediate response.
We're off to a good start. We've got an immediate response. What's that going to be?
2, we need to tackle the dispute after the election, hopefully to bring it to an end.
Okay, he didn't tell us what his response, but it's going to be immediate.
But 3,
after the election,
perhaps most important of all, we need a long-term plan.
And the third point in his plan is a long-term plan. Clear as mud.
To build our economic fortress in Canada so we are never vulnerable to these kinds of threats again.
I feel your pain, sir.
Yeah.
I feel your pain. I know why you're rubbing your temples.
Fuck, he's unlikable. He's really fucking unlikable.
Yep.
I just thought I'd share that because it's I think that sums up what a lot of Canadians are feeling right now.
We need a plan. We need an immediate response.
Yes.
We need to plan some stuff.
Okay.
And then we need a long-term plan.
Okay. And what would that be, sir?
Well, I didn't get that far.
We have concepts of a plan.
Ooh.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, Mr. Grizzly. Bravo.
Tell me I'm wrong, sir. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh. Where did I put my fan for the shade?
I mean,
I'm gonna have to break it. I'm gonna have to break out the tennis wristband instead. Ooh, the shade. Wipe the sweat. Oh man. Okay. Wow. As expected, since we're talking about the response, let's talk about the markets to start with, because that was a really interesting thing. Now, I thought that the Toronto Stock Exchange might do very well, considering that, Canada somewhat got spared. No. Like, absolutely not. That did not happen. Yesterday,
fear is driving the U.S. market.
Yes. Oh, that's the fear meter, the VIX.
Yes.
The Dow yesterday I think closed 1,500 points down. The S&P 206 points down. Nasdaq 778 points down. So that's a drop of 3.73% on the Dow, 3.8 on the S&P, 4.17 on the Nasdaq futures. All international markets, of course, dropped. The predicted market opens for this morning are still down. The Dow down another 4% predicted at the opening. The S&P down another 5, and the Nasdaq down another 6.
Maybe time to buy some more NVIDIA stock because
yeah, we were mentioning that yesterday. Some of the key stocks that went down, but NVIDIA, Intel, Pfizer.
NVIDIA's down by like $50.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now's the time to buy. This is what we say: buy the dip.
Yes, but right now it's still a falling knife.
Yeah.
Buy the dip, but don't try to catch a falling knife.
No.
So wait for it to hit bottom, and then wait till you see a little bit of rebounding, and then is it trying to catch a falling. We have no idea how long this is going to go, because Trump can belly up to Mike today, see these market things, and then go say something stupid that depresses the markets even more,
even further.
Right? Yeah. So don't try to catch a falling knife. Just do not.
I'm looking at some of the European markets here. I'll put this on the screen so everybody can see it, because it's like, holy crapinade. This is, you have to understand, like a 4.37% drop.
Yeah.
That is more money than I can possibly imagine.
Trillions upon trillions disappeared instantly.
Look at this.
From
DAX
the
down 5 in Germany.
Yeah.
SMI in Switzerland down 5%. The FTSE in Italy 7.2%.
The CAC 40 in France is down 4%, and they're already trading today. These are trading numbers because they're they're further ahead, right? So this is actual market. The Asia Pacific markets are all down except for Taiwan, which was like up 0.08% up, just to say. But all the Asian markets were down too. The Nikkei is down 2.75. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong's down 1.52. The S&P ASX 200 is down 244.
It's bad.
It's bad, and it'll probably be like that for a few days, I would assume. The Republicans are probably hoping that the weekend allows some people to calm down and might have a rebound on Monday. The weekend can also give a lot more time to ruminate and get dark about what things have happened, and make sure that Monday's open is a real plunge. But we are definitely in correction territory now in all these markets. It's pretty plain to see. And if you're looking at the Dow chart specifically, year to date, we are down 4.36. And that is literally, the Dow was at 42,225 on Wednesday, April 2nd.
So down,
and yesterday closed at 40,500.
Yeah, that's trillions.
That's trillions of dollars. So the markets have spoken, and the markets clearly do not like it in any way, shape, or form.
That right. The economy, when the markets are doing good, that represents goodness for the country. It doesn't mean it's going to help me directly. It's not going to pad my bank account. However, and this is what needs to be noted, when the markets drop like that, that does affect me. It does affect you, because your employer is going to have to tighten their belt. You could be excised as a direct result of this. And that's how, when the market drops like that, we're all affected. Even though it's not, like I said, it might not necessarily directly affect your bank balance or even whatever your holdings are, financial holdings, but it will affect your employer in pretty much right across the board,
right.
Which would then cause you to find yourself, like me, unemployed. Now, I wasn't unemployed for that reason. My contract ended and they didn't have any more work for me. I got a buyout. That's fine. But I still need a job.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like a lot of people are worried about a recession and all that kind of stuff. But the other worry is stagflation.
Yes.
That's what hit Japan for the longest time.
Yeah, and it took them decades to recover.
Yeah. Stagflation is the one thing you absolutely do not want to happen. So it's described, if you're looking at, with a technical term. It's the combination of high inflation, stagnant economic growth, and elevated unemployment. So when you blend them all, you basically create this world where nothing moves. Like, think of it of a storm system above you, but there's absolutely no wind to move the clouds. It just stays there. I guess, and each one of those three things feed each other in terms of keeping things stable. So stagflation is often considered way worse than a recession.
Oh, yes.
Stagflation is the worst kind of recession. This is Daryl Featherweather, chief economist at Redfin. It's the worst kind of recession because people lose their jobs and prices stay high along with interest rates. And that's a mess that's hard to get out of.
Yes.
So people are definitely worried about that happening. Here, there's some tidbits here. Reactions from all over. China has responded and said they will do what is necessary to respond to the tariffs. It is clear that more and more countries have come to stand against the U.S.'s tariff hikes and other unilateral bullying moves, said that China's foreign ministry spokesperson there. So China will be getting there. J.D. Vance is urging Americans to be patient. Donald Trump, same thing. There'll be a little bit of an adjustment. Don't worry. Yes, but when are you supposed to start panicking when your 401k has dropped 5%, 10%, 20, 30? When?
Yeah. 401k is effectively an RRSP.
Yeah.
Similar to an RRSP.
Right.
Correct?
So similar. Well, yeah. So it's what they call their retirement savings thing.
Right.
And I mean, right. And in Canada, even though, again, we weren't really affected by the tariffs, the teacher's pension, all these people, all these pensions, your public service pension, your whatever pension, a lot of this is invested in the market. Right? So you have to understand that the orange fucker, pardon my language, is literally screwing with your pension and your retirement now. He's not only fucking with very, very rich people's money. He's come into all of our lives all around the world, and every one of us that has a pension, and has directly removed wealth from all of us. And everybody told him that this would happen, and he would do it anyway. So there's some people wondering, because Donald Trump always said that the stock market is the economy and he lives by it. If he really does think that he's only getting this one term and that's it.
Oh, no, he wants another term, though.
I know he wants one, but if he really thinks he's only getting this one, I guess maybe that explains Donald Trump's tone. Was, some of you might die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. All of a sudden, wait a minute, the markets might tumble? No, I won't do that, because this is new behavior. Everybody would expect to see the markets start to tumble and him to be fearful. But if he just doesn't give a fuck.
Well, he's going for a scorched earth policy, right?
Yeah. If he's saying, hey, you know what? There is no way for me to get it again, and I'm going to be 82 anyway. So let's just burn it all down now, and I'll hand it to the next guy. If that's his attitude, we in trouble.
Oh yes,
Molly, we in danger, girl. So
that's from Ghost. For those of you who are Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore,
and Whoopi Goldberg,
and Whoopi.
Yes, who got the Oscar, by the way.
Yes, she did.
For that Best Supporting Actress. I think it was the first. She was the first Black woman since Hattie McDaniel in Gone with the Wind to win a Best Supporting Actress Oscar.
Correct.
I think it was like 60 or 50 years or something.
And who was the first Black woman to win Best Actor?
Halle Berry.
Yes, thank you.
Monsters Ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
Halle Berry.
Yeah. So various party leaders and provincial leaders have responded. We won't be able to go through all of them, but NDP leader Jagmeet Singh called for the issuance of victory bonds. It'll be interesting. According to the Toronto Star, in Ottawa this morning, with the National War Memorial as his backdrop, NDP leader Singh is calling for victory bonds that people could buy with guaranteed interest rates to those who invest with tax-free revenue. He's contrasting that plan, which would bring money into the government, with the cuts he say will come from a liberal or conservative government, of course. We are in a type of war right now, in a trade war, and the threat of Donald Trump has made Canadians say, what can I do, Singh says. This is a way for Canadians to contribute. He compares the situation to the Second World War, when Canadians purchased victory bonds from the government to help the effort. And you know what? This is an interesting move from an NDP government. But in that one move, Jagmeet Singh contributed more to the response effort than Pierre Poilièvre did in the full 40-minute speech and with question and answer. He did.
This is true.
This is actually something that we can use. So again, way to go, Mr. Singh. Saying things, cutting through, breaking through all the noise, and it's very hard to do when you're the fourth leader party. But again, where was this for the last 4 years, dude? And particularly since September. He also went on the record saying that there's no justification to renegotiate CUSMA, saying that it should not be open for renegotiation, but it's only open for review, as we said, next year in 2026, saying that Canada should stand in solidarity with Mexico against the Trump tariffs. Quote, "We are in a similar position where we've been attacked for no justification and no reason." Doug Ford also came out, and we're going to have some stuff for him. We have a little bit clip of him saying that we have to respond. Stellantis has already laid off 900 U.S. workers in Michigan. And there's a plant in Ontario. I believe that it's closing immediately for the first 2 weeks.
That's correct.
So we're already losing jobs. Green co-leader Jonathan Pedno says that the trade war with the U.S. should be a turning point where Canada seizes the opportunity to revive manufacturing. There you go. He's calling for Canada to build things like electric vehicles and batteries that use Canadian lithium and cobalt. It's time for us to build our own path forward, he says. There was a virtual meeting between the Prime Minister and all the other premiers. So the clip that we have of Doug Ford speaking will be immediately after he emerged from that around 11 a.m. Yesterday. Of course, the stock market chaos happened. And then we had an interesting move by Danielle Smith. Who she kind of changed her tune.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Because
this is a surprise.
Yeah, well, because she ran a victory lap the previous day. I guess when everybody was advising, please do not engage in triumphantalism. She called the developments of the trade war an important win for Alberta and Canada. It's like, do not go to a camera when you've negotiated anything with Donald Trump and say that you won.
No, that's bad.
That provokes a nasty response, usually. Smith said her provincial counterparts are all on board with the retaliatory tariffs that are announced by Prime Minister Mark Carney and believes the measures are unlikely to result in further U.S. retaliation because after all those meetings yesterday, the day after, she said, it's a big win. She turned around and said, well, this is from Get to Toronto Star. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says she doesn't want to be exuberant about dodging the bullet with U.S. President Donald Trump's latest tariff announcement. Oh, or that it may push further renegotiations after the election. We can't be exuberant about dodging. But yesterday she was going, I won! And immediately after coming back from PragerU and Ben Shapiro talked about tariffs, I did it. Just like after she came back from Mar-a-Lago and Trump didn't mention tariffs immediately like this and said, I did it. And then he slapped us with tariffs.
Yeah.
So I'm getting the feeling that Danielle might have gotten a talking to or two.
Possibly. Yeah. Do you think maybe Prime Minister Carney gave her a phone call and said, hey, settle down?
Like, yeah, you need to fall in line here.
Yeah.
So lots of developments, lots of premiers coming out. So, Premier Wab Kinew says he and other provincial leaders are backing the federal government's response to tariffs imposed by the United States. So everybody's saying that, even Danielle Smith. It's probably easier for Danielle Smith to say, given that she's not personally affected right now. We'll see how that changes when or if all the other premiers and the Prime Minister determine that there will be extra export tariffs on oil and gas. Because for all of Danielle Smith saying, well, we will never agree to that, it's not your choice and you don't get a say. So, écrase raisin, as we say in French. Park it.
So I'm just one of the
Take a
things
seat.
you sent me here is a trade war forces Canada's province to issue a flurry of new bonds.
Yeah, that's yes. And then the provinces, yes,
They
issued
borrowed a
bonds.
record 51 billion equivalent from offshore markets in 2024, up 18.6 billion in 2023.
Yeah. Yeah. Did anybody assume that provinces would issue bonds yesterday? And remember,
Didn't see that.
Canada issued a whole bunch of bonds
Mhm.
before all of this, and they were all snatched up.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So pretty interesting move there. Because issuing bonds sends a signal to the
Mhm.
market here. So yeah, this is I mean, if you fear that there's going to be a difficulty attracting some foreign investment during this time, um, bonds help.
Well, and
So
this here from PNC Bio, he says, given the financial health of most provinces, I'd skip buying bonds from them. PNC Bio is saying that. I'm like, no,
well, that's
you would know better than I. So
yeah,
I'll take that
that's a good
advice.
point there. That's a good point. But yeah, according to this here, it says the trade war is set to plunge Canadian provinces into deeper deficits, revitalizing a sleepy corner of the credit market. Provinces are expecting wider deficits and higher funding needs, which means selling more bonds. The 7 provinces that have proposed budgets so far reported a combined deficit of $32 billion for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, double the estimates for the year prior, according to a note from the National Bank of Canada. So the premiers are doing a good job managing their finances. Quebec and Ontario are most exposed to trade war because of their large deficits and significant ties with the United States, says Douglas Offerman, Senior Director at Fitch Ratings Incorporated. Ontario hasn't submitted a budget yet for 2025-2026. So this is that number, not including Ontario yet.
Mm.
So 32 to 35, when you don't include Ontario, probably double that.
Well, it's something I saw the other day in a back and forth conversation. Alberta, somebody going, "We got to stop the transfer payments." Okay, that's
No, you can't do that.
not how it works. Number one. Number two, without Alberta, Canada is screwed.
No.
Really? Why? Between Quebec and Ontario, that's like 60% of our GDP.
Yeah.
I think it's 70% between two provinces.
Mhm.
So we could get along fine without Alberta.
Yep.
There'd be pain, and I don't
Yes.
want Alberta to leave. But for individuals who are secessionists, you need to understand something. You can't hold us hostage. Also, it's all treaty lands, so you're not going anywhere.
Yep. Exactly.
I got to get a coffee. I'll be right back.
No worries. 7 provinces, including Ontario, planned to raise nearly $30 billion in pre-borrowing for 2025-2026. That's more than quadruple the $6.7 billion pre-borrowed the year prior. Bond dealers are mitigating their risk by compressing the time between building the book, getting orders and assigning allocations, and completing the sale of the bonds. Yeah. So far, investors are receptive. Okay. Demand has risen to meet supply as the market gets more robust, and the risk premium for provincial bonds has generally remained tight compared with Canada's federal debt. Canadian provinces borrowed a record $51 billion equivalent from offshore markets in 2024, up from $18.6 billion in 2023. According to data from RBC Capital Markets, increased access abroad could help prevent them from flooding the domestic market if debt needs balloon. Provinces tend to benefit from a flight to quality because investors are drawn to their liquidity, prudent fiscal discipline, and broad taxation authority, said Travis Shaw, Senior Vice President at Morningstar DBRS, which currently has all provincial ratings trends at stable. Most provinces have flexibility within their existing ratings to ensure somewhat larger deficits and rising debt in the near term, Shaw said, but that headroom could shrink as the trade war wears on. So, interesting things to pay attention to here. So that's Mr. Wesley. If you want to play a little bit of Doug Ford,
Yes,
we have the clip there. Again, you will notice in this clip that Doug Ford 2 is still with us. in terms of demeanor, tone, level of bombastic, it seems that if there was any doubt that he and Mark Carney are on the same page and that maybe he received a few coaching tips from Mark Carney, you can absolve all doubt now.
Well, good morning, everyone. We just finished our FMM call with the Prime Minister, had the discussions regarding President Trump's comments yesterday. You know, we all agreed that we got the best of a bad deal, which in my opinion is still totally unacceptable. The only thing that's acceptable is zero tariffs. We're going to continue targeting zero tariffs. I do believe and I would support retaliation tariffs, very similar to what they have against us in the auto sector, but that is strictly up to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, I understand, will be coming out at 11:30, but I can tell you he reassured us that he'll be there for the auto companies to support them. We'll be there as well. I put a call in to Mark Stewart, the Unifor representative, just a minute ago. I called him again last night just to reassure him that we're going to be there and support him. I believe, and this is really because of our relationship that we built, that we were going down there, we were communicating constantly, and you know, there was a big relief. We didn't see our name on the list, but that doesn't mean these tariffs are disappearing. So I'm a strong supporter of showing the U.S. that we negotiate through strength, not weakness, and it'll be up to the Prime Minister to tell the country how we're going to retaliate.
There's something different about Doug Ford here.
Mm-hmm.
He's not so. He seems to be a little bit more relaxed, because you know how he's usually very wooden and struggles with what he's reading off the teleprompter and
breathless. You know, folks, we're going to do this, and higher pitched voice, and
he's different today. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just different.
Yeah. So that gives you an idea of the tone.
Sorry, I just saw something in the chat that made me laugh.
What was it?
Well, there's Save the West, F the rest says, I'm not going to engage. I'm just going to read the two. Just want everyone to know. Come on, Dean, say something, pussy. Dean's not on this show. He's not on this show. It's broadcasting live on his Twitter feed.
Okay.
But Dean is not on this show.
Everyone, understand, it's a network. It has more than one show. Dean is not on all of them, and not everybody who is on Dean's network is Dean, and we don't sign a piece of paper saying that we have to spout Dean's personal point of view.
No.
Okay.
Dean told us point
Each
blank,
show on the network is independent.
Yes.
Jeez.
I'm sorry, it just made me laugh. I'm like,
I know.
He's not on the show. You're clearly not watching.
you're clearly new here. We've been doing this show for the better part of 4 years. He's been on once or twice as a guest. He's not part of the show.
No, he's not part of the show.
He makes no editorial decisions. It's us. The content is us. All right. For anybody who had any doubts, just put it out there.
So Doug, back to Doug Ford for a moment. I do not like the man. Yep. I think he acts like a mob boss. I do not think he has Ontarians' best interest at heart. In this instance, he is doing the right thing for Team Canada. I got to give credit where credit's due. I gave him credit at the start of COVID, and I'm giving him credit here now. He's on board with Team Canada. How much we don't know, but he is getting in line with the Prime Minister. So credit where credit's due.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yep. And now there's a lot of in the questions that are being asked. There's some stuff like, you're not telling us and whatnot. And you can see that Doug Ford is being extremely deferential. The Prime Minister is going to come out at 11:30. Right now, this is around 11 a.m. I am not going to be saying things that will scoop him. I will not be saying things that go against him. I will let the Prime Minister make the announcement. So, right, you notice that. So if we can go to around 6:30, let's see. maybe 6:22 or so. That might be the trailing off of the end of the last question. But they asked him a very interesting question because remember we presented to you that Doug Ford said that he was too busy to help Pierre Poilièvre. That's the rumor.
Continue to do that.
But,
and Premier, it seems like you've been, you've been working closely with Mark Carney, and you
Yes.
mentioned that your MPPs.
I'm sorry? What?
sorry,
I'm sorry.
I was mid-sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know why Tim Houston is there. So around 6:21. Doug Ford said that he couldn't help. Pierre Poilièvre the day before had a big announcement in Toronto, and there were some members of the Ontario PC caucus there, some who introduced them, including Caroline Mulroney. And I'm not sure if Mark Mulroney is a member of the caucus, but Caroline definitely is. So he was asked about that.
Do that.
And Premier, it seems like you've been, you've been working closely with Mark Carney, and you mentioned that your MPPs would be too swamped to do anything in this election campaign.
Yes.
At least yesterday, that did not seem to be the case with Caroline Mulroney. I'm just wondering if she sought your permission to endorse Pierre Poilièvre, if you gave it, and also what you make of your campaign manager's recent comments towards the CPC.
Yeah, so twofold. I said it's really up to the MPPs what they want to do. Caroline called me. I think the world of Caroline, by the way. She does an incredible job as president of the Treasury, and asked me, and that's up to Caroline, and good for her and everyone else. But we need to focus on our job. Our number one job is to make sure we continue to protect the people of Ontario, focus on the tariffs. I do want to make a comment about the outages right across the north. It's heartbreaking. You get these messages, and I'm getting like every 15 seconds messages. We have now 3,700 boots on the ground from all over. I want to thank, which I did, thank Francois Legault, Premier of Quebec, for sending Quebec Hydro, as well as Scott Moe over in Saskatchewan, and everyone from Windsor Hydro to all the way up, all the GTA and in Toronto. We've reconnected over 800,000 homes, and we still have right around about 190,000 more to go. We're working full out. Again, we have the teams out there from emergency management, the Ontario Corps, warming centers, foods brought in. I got to give a shout out to a couple, Rubicon and Global Medics. They're out there supporting, be it food or cutting down trees. And I just want to thank the people. I mentioned yesterday when someone's internet is down and televisions are down, we have to come up with a new mechanism to communicate, because it's very difficult to communicate when people don't have the ability to watch the television. So I think we have to come up with something with the cell phones, because that's their number one concern out there is communication. I know the CEO is going to be up there today in Oro Medonte. I'll be heading up tomorrow to see how I can support anyone up there.
This is the last question.
Yeah, go.
All right. So, two things in there. Obviously, letting people know that if there's any members of the caucus that want to do something, he's not going to stop and there will be no consequence. But we're busy. We've got stuff to do here. And then an update on the hydro situation, because yes, there are still 190,000 Ontarians who still do not have power yet. So they've done a good job. There's 900,000 people out like this, and it's less than a week still, and they're down to 190,000. But for those, it's not fun. Right. But we are getting help from other provinces and all that type of stuff. So a little good note there. So I wanted to make sure that both those things were there for those who are wondering what's going on. So that's about it for Doug Ford for now. Now, some interesting things. Do you have any additional comments on this, Mr. Grizzly?
No, I just think, like I said, I hate giving him credit, but I have to give him credit. He's doing it the right way.
He's doing the job.
He's doing the job. He is.
He's understanding the assignment.
He is. Now, what's going to happen when 6 months from now?
Yeah.
When he what I saw, was it a Theo Moudakis cartoon? It might have been, where it said, "We're going to hit American cities hard," and it showed this map of the U.S. and it showed Therm.
Yes, exactly. Now, The one little comment I have about Doug Ford's thing there, he seemed to have difficulty thinking about a city of Ontario further north, the city in Ontario further north than the GTA.
Yeah, that's a first, right? I'm like, well,
He's like, in Windsor and up north further, like toward the GTA and Sudbury, North Bay, Thunder Bay,
the big one.
Hearst. Really? This is like Ottawa. We're
Look,
further north.
as far as he's concerned, the world ends at Finch.
Jeez, what a guy. Okay, so I know it's petty. I couldn't help but notice it. So we have Doug Ford, we have Danielle Smith. I brought them too because they're the ones that are making the biggest noise. But like I said, Premier AB, Wab Canoe, Susan Holt, they've all come out and made their various statements. Even the Bloc Québécois leader, François Blanchet, is kind of on board with the sort of Team Canada approach with this type of stuff. We seem to be relatively united, and the one super rogue person, Danielle Smith, appears to be brought on board as much as it could possibly be to have her on board before she decides she's not going to be on board again. But for now, we'll take it. But we know she's up to something.
Here's hoping we can get Premier Susan Holt back on the show at some point in time in the future. I know she's really busy right now, but it'd be great if we could get her on for a chat.
Yes. So now, what happens is then we had the responses from Mark Carney, and we had response from Pierre Poilièvre and everybody else. Pierre Poilièvre went first, doing it the other day, which was really weird because he delivered his response to the tariffs before they were even announced. Now, how it is you announce a response to something that has not yet been announced boggles my mind. Maybe that's why his plan was, we need to have an immediate plan, then we need a plan, then we need a long-term plan. Because he didn't know what he was responding to. No, but here's the thing, right? It's, watch me. Hey, maybe someday I'll be a real boy. Let me play prime minister. Because Pierre Poilièvre knew that the actual prime minister would be busy in tons of meetings. And that the announcement wouldn't come until the markets closed. So he, at something like 10 o'clock in the morning, the day before, way before it was announced, went up and said, watch you. I'm going to show you that I'm going to show you that I know how to be prime ministerial. And then he did his thing, which hopefully we'll have time to show you a little bit. And you know how I'm talking about Pierre adopting different shells? Right? We've seen all the makeovers, and the latest makeover seems to be look a little bit more like Mark Carney. Let some gray, stop wearing the girdle as much, show off some dad bod, all that kind of stuff. The best way I can describe it is Pierre Poilièvre showed up, not as Pierre Poilièvre, but in his best imitation of Mark Carney. Literally. There is pretty much not much he said, other than like all the required passages in which he goes back to being Canada's abusive boyfriend, telling us how we're worthless and all that kind of stuff, and repeats stuff he said before. But the content was Carney's. The pace of speech was Carney's. The tone of voice was Carney's. When I'm commenting a while ago as Pierre as single white female, for those of you who saw the movie, this is getting very disturbing. Now, I would show him first because he went first, and I usually show things in the order they happened. But as for the launch, because apparently Pierre did not learn from the launch by trying to go first and doing a terrible job of it, I showed the Prime Minister out of respect, and I'm going to do the same thing here because I'm not going to indulge Pierre, because Pierre's goal was to set the tone by going first. And Pierre did get lots of plaudits for it. oh, is this the beginning of a new Pierre? Is this oh, well, but the old Pierre was still there. There was the moments that he told you you're worthless and weak, and then he went back to criticizing some of the Trudeau liberal stuff, and claiming that Carney was there for it all. The funny one the other day was when he was announcing his crime policy. Well, Carney was there for it all. It's like, you do realize that Carney was his economic advisor.
Mm-hmm.
The entire time, Carney might have been or might not have been advising. And again, there's no guarantee that the advice has been taken. But the entire time he was advising, I'm pretty sure he didn't have much to say on jail, not bail. All right. So there's a lot of the last 10 years of Carney, Trudeau, Liberal. Well, wait a minute. You just said it was his financial advisors. It's only like the last 5. So that was the last like this. And policies that have nothing to do with economics. That's Carney's policy too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he can't help himself on those bits. So it makes the transition to prime ministerial Pierre more difficult to believe. And plus, it's coming out of Pierre's mouth, and after 2 years of telling you how you suck, right? So, out of respect, we are going to do Prime Minister Mark Carney first. And I'm saying Prime Minister Mark Carney because yesterday when he made these comments, he was acting as the Prime Minister and not just the Liberal leader, because
and that's the thing.
Campaign on suspension.
When he's campaigning, he's Liberal leader. But in this instance, because it isn't a caretaker government, he is the Prime Minister. Yes. And we need people to understand how that works, because I think a lot of people don't understand that. Not the folks that are here with us, every day for the live show, but there's folks who tune in from different parts of the world who don't necessarily know how the political system in this country works, and we're just trying to help. That's all.
The caretaker government can't make spending decisions, can't sign treaties, that type of stuff. But in a situation where something happens where the country's in emergency, can take a limited amount of decisions. And a lot of these things were prepared prior to going into caretaker mode. So they're just being activated and whatnot. So.
Yesterday marked the latest in President Trump's unprecedented series of U.S. tariffs that are designed to reshape the international trading system. The ambition of these measures is enormous. The effects on the global economy will be monumental. We received confirmation that the latest reciprocal tariffs will not be imposed on Canada. At the same time, President Trump confirmed that the tariffs announced last week against our auto industry will come in, and indeed have come into effect today. So while it's progress that further tariffs were not imposed on Canada yesterday, the President's actions will reverberate here in Canada and across the world. Three different sets of U.S. tariffs remain in place and will continue to pose significant threats to Canadian workers and Canadian businesses. And while they have been imposed under different premises, some things are consistent. They are all unjustified, unwarranted, and in our judgment, misguided. And we are already seeing the consequences. Just last evening, workers from Unifor Local 444, with whom I met last week, learned that their auto assembly plant in Windsor will be shutting down for at least the next 2 weeks. That's 3,600 workers who are now out of work, not by their choice. Workers who now worry how they're going to put food on the table and pay their bills. I and my government stand in solidarity with those workers in Windsor and all those workers hurt by President Trump's tariffs. And that's why we committed from the very start that all, and I repeat, all of our tariff proceeds will go to protect workers affected by the tariffs.
Right.
Les premiers tariffs.
So that's the setup. This is very, very well done from a communications PR perspective, because he says specifically what happened, that we got spared this part, leaving Canadians to do the math. Well, the stuff that's being imposed is stuff before you had that phone call with him. The stuff that's not being imposed is stuff after you had the phone call with him. Okay, interesting. And then immediately talks about the affected workers
Mm-hmm.
immediately. This is the first 2 minutes and offers them assurance. This is 100% knocking out of the park.
Yes.
Right there.
He's speaking directly to the people who are affected. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
That's what you do.
Don't talk to shareholders. Don't talk to the CEOs and the executive that run the... Talk about the people who are directly affected, the people whose bank accounts are going to suffer. Now, they're shutting down for 2 weeks. That could go longer. I certainly hope it doesn't. But what if you just started the gig? Because they hire and people leave, people get fired. Maybe you just started the job. Hey, I've been out of work for a while. I got a job. All right. And now I don't have a job.
Right. So let's keep going. He's going to go into French. I used the CTV feed because it was one of the few that had simultaneous interpretation. I might have to cut in a couple of times because it's not always the best.
Right.
As one who did this, the quality wasn't great on this one.
Yeah, you did this for a living. Maybe they should, hire you back.
Ont été annoncés en février. Après une brève pause, ils ont été remis en place en mars. Selon l'administration Trump,
based on the Trump administration, they were put in place based on the fentanyl traffic that supposedly happened on our common border. However, 0.20% of fentanyl that goes into the U.S. comes from Canada. And regardless of that fact, the previous government acted in December with a border plan that was robust, $1.3 billion. $1.3 billion. So a plan that implies new tools for our police forces, helicopters, drones, and K9 teams to detect and stop the traffic of fentanyl and chemicals used to produce this drug.
That plan is working. As U.S. Customs and Border Protection themselves have acknowledged, there was a 97% drop in fentanyl seized at our shared border in January compared to December. In fact, Canada was not mentioned once in the United States annual report that lists the biggest threat to that country. Just last night, the U.S. Senate made it clear that these tariffs are a mistake. The Senate voted to repeal them in a symbolic but important assertion of both fact and solidarity. The second set of U.S. tariffs were imposed in March on steel and aluminum imports from around the world, including Canada. Canada has long been the United States' main supplier of these materials that are vital to building Americans' homes, their cars, their bridges, their consumer goods, and so much more. These materials are vital to powering America's economy. The President pursued similar tariffs on steel and aluminum during his first term, a process which led to thousands of lost jobs in America. Then, as now, those tariffs were in clear violation of trading agreements. Today it's CUSMA, an agreement that the President himself negotiated and promoted during his first term. An agreement that we in Canada have upheld in good faith. Last week, the President and his administration announced their third set of tariffs, this time against auto imports primarily from Mexico and Canada. In the year I was born, Canada and the United States signed the Auto Pact, an agreement that ended auto tariffs between our nations and began a 60-year period, you can guess my age, a 60-year period of close cooperation, partnership, job growth, and prosperity.
Okay. The thing that I like about this is that Mark Carney is borrowing a page from what Paul Martin did. When we had the Canadian peso, he did the education piece for us over and over and over and over again before he brought in. Right? Now, Mark Carney has not had this luxury but he has been doing it from the beginning. And here he gives us, again, the first set of tariffs did this, the second set of tariffs, here's the third set of tariffs, here are some of the response, right? He's laying it out for you. Simple, basic, explaining things. This is the lay of the land. This is work that a lot of politicians skip.
Yes.
They don't bring us along. They don't do the education piece.
I switched back to the widescreen so you could watch the Dow Jones Industrial Average drop in real time.
I'm glad you did that, because I was thinking that. So I was going to say if you did, because we couldn't see. I was going to say we couldn't see in that one, but at one point they popped the market ticker on. And this is really interesting because when you have the Canadian Prime Minister talking about how we're going to defend tariffs, when you have the stock market from the U.S., because they didn't show it to the TSX, they're showing the Dow.
Correct.
Dropping. It sends a message, doesn't it?
They've got
about
two
the
numbers.
Quality of your guy.
The top number is the S&P TSX Composite Index, and then the bottom one in yellow with the big red triangle is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So, yeah, watch the Dow drop in real time. The TSX is dropping as well, but anyway. So, shall we continue?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. The next bit here that we have, when you pointed out a few days ago that he was making history, when he was saying that the time between the old relationship between Canada and U.S. is over, he's expanding a little bit on that history here.
Yes, and oh boy, is this good. It's so good.
That era has now ended, unless the United States and Canada can agree on a new comprehensive approach. Yesterday's actions by the U.S. administration, while not specifically targeting Canada, will rupture the global economy and adversely affect global economic growth. The global economy is fundamentally different today than it was yesterday. The system of global trade anchored on the United States that Canada has relied on since the end of the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped to deliver prosperity for our country for decades, is over.
It's over.
Our old relationship of steadily deepening integration with the United States is over. The 80-year period when the United States embraced the mantle of global economic leadership, when it forged alliances rooted in trust and mutual respect, and championed the free and open exchange of goods and services, is over. Well, this is a tragedy. It is also the new reality.
Boom.
We must respond with both purpose and force. We are a free, sovereign, and ambitious country. We are masters in our own home.
Wow.
He's just declared the U.S. dead.
Yeah.
The USA is dead. Long live Canada.
Effectively, yeah.
That's a huge statement from your northern neighbor, closest ally, and alleged best friend. To the world.
This is what he's doing what needs to be done. And he's decisive. It's effective. And the rest of the world's going like, oh, hell yeah, we're behind you.
Yep. And you have...
Literally, the rest of the world is doing that right now.
Yes. Well, that's the whole thing, right? You have to, and there's going to be a part in this speech that's coming up that's going to knock your socks off.
I know.
But with regard to this, because he's going to make more history.
Oh, yes.
That's the first bit of history, declaring U.S. as. Then he stops and does a couple of other things, and then he drops a big bomb. Another history he's going to make. You have to understand here.
He will be the next prime minister because he's got no F's left to give. And he's not messing about.
Yes.
When I said, back when he first announced, I said, I think he's the right man for the job right now because we need and forgive me for saying this, but what we need right now is an older white man with global experience to steady the waters. Steady the ship. Calm the waters. This is the guy that can do it.
Now you have to understand.
Poilièvre is incapable of this.
Oh, no. And you have to understand, right? It's because this guy has standing.
Yes.
Right? It's the thing I mentioned. Remember, the Prime Minister of Canada, when it was Trudeau, had a lot of standing because he was the dean of the Progressive Nations, just by longevity.
Correct.
This guy is the new kid on the block, but people are following him.
Yes.
He's a superstar.
And I was chatting with a friend the other day, who, again, a lifetime conservative, has been voting NDP the last number of elections. And I said, you do realize that Mark Carney is more in line with Joe Clark progressive conservative ideology than he is with Justin Trudeau's liberal ideology. I go, he is a liberal. That's not up for debate. But he's much
blue
more
liberal.
centrist. Yes. Yeah. So,
yep.
Just okay, we'll continue.
Yep. So here he is going to do another education piece because a lot of things get lost. And he's actually going to do a review of the actions that have been taken so far and deliver an announceable.
We will fight to bring each of these tariffs to an end. We're fighting in courts, challenging that these tariffs have been illegally imposed under U.S. law. We have filed disputes underscoring that they are in violation of our free trade agreement, CUSMA. We have gone to the World Trade Organization because these actions are against international trade law. We are responding today with, and we've responded throughout, with carefully calibrated and targeted counter tariffs.
Yesterday, I met my council on American-Canadian relations. I had a meeting for the Council of Ministers on Canadian-American relations. I also brought together the provincial and territory premiers for the third time in as many weeks. We are united. We are determined.
As I told President Trump during our call last week, Canada will respond to the U.S. auto tariffs. And today I'm announcing that the Government of Canada will be responding by matching the U.S. approach, with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported from the United States that are not compliant with CUSMA, our North American Free Trade Agreement. And on the non-Canadian content of CUSMA-compliant vehicles from the United States as well. Our tariffs, though, unlike the U.S. tariffs, will not affect auto parts because we know the benefits of our integrated production system. And they will also not affect vehicle content from Mexico, who is respecting the CUSMA agreement.
Boom.
And as well, we are developing a framework for auto producers in Canada to get relief from these counter tariffs as long as they maintain their production and investment in our country.
Boom.
Importantly, every single dollar raised from those counter tariffs, our counter tariffs, which could reach around $8 billion before remission, will go directly to our auto workers and the companies affected by those tariffs. And that's on top of a $2 billion fund we announced last week to build a made-in-Canada auto sector, a fund that a new Liberal government would implement should we be elected. Nos droits de douane
Our tariffs will not affect automobile parts because we know the advantages of our intertwined production system. It will not affect the contents of vehicles coming from Mexico, and we will elaborate a support to help automakers to avoid tariffs on the condition that they maintain their production and their investments in Canada. It is important to note that each dollar gathered, so about $8 billion, will go directly to our workers in the auto industry and businesses affected by these tariffs. This will be added to the $2 billion fund to construct a new auto industry made in Canada that I announced that a new Liberal government would put in place if we were elected.
Our retaliatory tariffs that we previously announced in response to the United States' other tariffs will remain in effect. You know, we take these measures reluctantly. And we take them in ways that it's intended and will cause maximum impact in the United States and minimum impact here in Canada. And we should be aware that the President and his administration have also signaled that tariffs will be applied on what the Americans term as strategic sectors: pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, lumber, and agriculture. In
the next days and weeks to come, we will tell our American counterparts that this would be a mistake, that the question of supply is not on the table, and this would bring a calibrated yet energetic response from Canada, and that the moment has come to renegotiate in depth our economic partnership and our economic and security partnership.
As President Trump and I agreed last week, he and the Prime Minister of Canada will sit down immediately following.
So, sorry for the doubling up in French there. I missed that one when I was making my timestamps there.
It's fine.
So here, review of all the actions made announceable. It's not new news because we knew that he would, impose counter tariffs. He had announced it, and he is announcing the counter tariffs being imposed in this element, but also reiterating for the second time in this address, for the second time in the first 14 minutes, that 100% of the money we will be raising from counter tariffs will be going to support industry and workers. And he is evaluating that at about $8 billion. That's a compare and contrast with Pierre Poilièvre, who said that at first, because he would take those measures, the counter tariff money, and distribute it to everyone as a broad tax cut. His tax cut amounts to about $7 billion in the first year. They're planning on raising $8 billion from tariffs. So that's all of it. Now remember, Pierre afterwards, a few weeks later, said, "Oh, he's going to be there to support." Well, he's going to need to find another $8 billion.
Yeah, no kidding.
To do that, because he wasn't going to do that originally. All right, let's go back.
The best deal for Canada under the new U.S. approach. At the same time, Canada must be looking elsewhere to expand our trade, to build our economy, and to protect our sovereignty. Canada is ready to take a leadership role in building a coalition of like-minded countries who share our values. We believe in international cooperation. We believe in the free and open exchange of goods, services, and ideas. And if the United States no longer wants to lead, Canada will.
Whoa.
Canada is strengthening our trading relationships with reliable partners. Plutôt cette semaine, j'ai parlé à la présidente mexicaine.
Earlier this week, I spoke to Mrs. Sheinbaum, the Mexican president. I've just discussed today with the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. I've had many conversations with the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. And the first week in position, I met with the UK Premier, Mr. Starmer, and the French President, Emmanuel Macron. We are all opposed to the American approach, and we are all in favor of free and equitable commercial relationships.
Understands that Canadians hurt by the unjustified tariffs will need our support. And to our workers producing sustainable, high-quality lumber in Smithers, Prince George, and Elmsdale, to our workers extracting oil and gas around Fort McMurray and in northeastern BC.
Our workers in aluminum in Saguenay,
Sault Ste. Marie, et La Bosse. To our workers at auto assembly plants in Windsor, Ingersoll, and Oakville. To all our workers who might be worried about their next paycheck and their futures, the federal government will do everything in our power to protect you and your careers. In this new world, we have to look out for ourselves, and because we are Canadian, we will always look out for each other. La semaine dernière,
last week, I announced many targeted measures to support workers and businesses directly affected by Mr. Trump's tariffs. For workers, we've removed the one-week delay to get unemployment insurance. We've made sure that they don't have to use up all their indemnities. Sorry?
Leur indemnité, de part avant de toucher.
They're leaving bonuses before getting insurance, and we facilitated access to.
I'm sorry, sir. Were you saying something?
He meant severance pay. There was the term that the translator was trying to get, but wasn't able to get.
To unemployment insurance. As I said and have repeated, our government will use each dollar taken from counter tariffs to support Canadian workers as long as this trade war is on. We will also support Canadian businesses. We've delayed the income as well as GST and PST for businesses. We've put in place new.
Sir?
Again, the translation not all that great. I was talking about the provisions that he took to delay corporations having to remit their GST or HST payments. So getting some extra leeway there. And then the previous answer, you mentioned something about supply. They were talking about specifically supply management not being put on the table. Except that the simultaneous interpretation is not great here.
Measures to supply liquidities and financial aid to help our businesses get through this storm. And we've increased the financing of regional development agencies.
Fighting back against U.S. tariffs and protecting our workers are our most immediate priorities. But they are not sufficient. Our task as a nation in the coming weeks and months and years is to think bigger and to act bigger. We can draw strength right now from each other. From Canadians who are supporting local businesses, Canadians who are buying Canadian, Canadians who are changing their travel plans, and Canadians who are helping each other as neighbors. We are powerful when we act together. From providing refuge to stranded passengers in Gander to fighting forest fires in California, Canadians have done extraordinary things for Americans when they needed it most. Now, more than ever, we need to do extraordinary things for ourselves. We will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations.
Okay, Mr. Grizzly.
Breaking down internal trade barriers.
I think we went on a little further, but you will notice that at the initial part of that, where he made more history, saying if the United States is going to leave this part, Canada will lead.
Yeah, that's
usually a presumptuous statement in general. It's usually a presumptuous statement for a new leader on the global scene in particular. But this is not any new leader. This is Mark Carney.
He's deadly serious.
He has international respect based on his
nations around the world are standing up and taking notice. We will not be bullied. This man is showing the backbone that the world needs to see right now.
And now that 179 other nations, or 180 other nations, well, not always nations because, well, there's the island with penguins too, but 180 other jurisdictions have now received the treatment that he has been reserving exclusively for us for the last little bit. And they've seen us in action, and they've seen that we've been exempt from this latest round. Maybe they're, yes, I'll have what Canada's having.
Well, and that's rather prescient because they did a recent commercial where they duplicated that. So it's not the ancient pop culture moment that many people would have thought. Yeah, so
yes.
Was it for Hellman's mayonnaise? Is that what it was for?
I believe so, yes. Yeah. So he's like, oh, here we go again.
Great scene, great movie, and great commercial.
Yeah, great scene. Did you know the lady who said I'll have what she's having is actually Carl Reiner's mom?
Yeah, Rob Reiner's mom.
Rob Reiner's mom, sorry. Rob Reiner. Yeah, not Carl Reiner. Yeah. Rob Reiner's mom, who's the director.
Carl Reiner's mom would be really old.
He keeps putting her little places here and there where she becomes like she has these cultural moments. But yeah, we are going to lead on that. And if you look, one of the good places to look is the European Union, because the president of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, had a great relationship with Justin Trudeau, and probably already has a great relationship with Mark Carney because she was still president of the European Union when he was the governor of the Bank of Canada. They've seen what we've been doing, and they are, it seems, based on general comment and word on the tweet and murmur out there, that they have been picking up on the message we have been sending. And yeah, it appears that they might be borrowing a couple of plays from our playbook. Stay tuned. Be interesting to see what happens. You'll notice that once again, he went in and talked about stuff that he had for workers. Again, very, very important. Notice the sheer amount of time during this entire thing that he's talked about workers specifically. Because his entire address before the Q&A is about 23 minutes, and he spent at least 4 or 5 solid on workers on 2 or 3 different occasions in this speech, interspersed. There's at least probably even 6 minutes dedicated to workers. All right, let's keep going, Mr. Grizzly.
Oh, okay. I advanced to the Q&A. I thought that's what you had wanted. I guess I was mistaken.
I guess we could, but I'd like to see him bring it home.
All right, just a minute. Let me just go back. I'll just go back. It's not that far. It's like 5 minutes. That was good. That was good. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good.
Every now and then, I'm particularly inspired.
Bring it on.
Building a Canada that works for everyone. A Canada that everyone can afford. A Canada worthy of its people. Last week, I met a teacher from Glen Williams Public School in Georgetown, Ontario. And she told me about a routine assignment, that she had given to her 9- and 10-year-olds. And the children were asked to describe their dreams for Canada. So some kids wrote about a country free of poverty, others dreamt of clean air and water, or a place where everyone enjoyed equal rights, dignity, and respect. These are what we all want for ourselves and for each other. But many also wrote about tariffs and threats to our sovereignty. Words that I hadn't met at that age. And I'm going to quote one which is representative. I dream of a safe, a kind, and a clean Canada. a Canada that is not the U.S. Our children should be able to dream about a positive future, not worry about an economic crisis. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes sont inquiets.
Canadians are worried, and it's normal when there's big change. It's not. We did not change. We have remained the same, proud and strong. We live in a new world, and this comes with new challenges.
Given the prospective damage to their own people, the American administration should eventually change course. But I don't want to give false hope. The president believes that what he is doing is best for the American economy. He believes that it's best for American workers. And although their policy will hurt American families, until that pain becomes impossible to ignore, I do not believe they will change direction. So the road to that point may indeed be long. And it will be hard on Canadians, just as it will be on other partners of the United States. It will require us to make difficult choices. It will require sacrifices. I have no doubt we will rise to the challenge, because that's who we are as Canadians. We have done hard, seemingly impossible things throughout our history.
Thanks so much to our viewers in Atlantic Canada for watching. You can continue watching Mark Carney's comments on CTV News Channel. Stay with us.
Des langues, des cultures,
unites languages, cultures, and different beliefs. And by doing it, we have become stronger.
We created public Medicare. We confronted our own past with Indigenous peoples. We answered the call to defeat fascism. We know we are not always perfect, but we always strive to be good. We do not do things because they're easy, but because they are right. We will rise to meet this challenge, and we will emerge stronger. So to those kids at Glenn Williams Public School, don't worry. With your spirit, with that of your parents, their friends, and people like them across this great country, all pulling for Canada, we will build an even better Canada for your future, because that's who we are. We are Canada. Canada strong, Canada fort. Thank you very much. Merci. I'd be pleased to take your questions.
Bonjour tout le monde. We'll now start with the press conference. We'll take 15 minutes of questions, one question, one follow-up.
I don't know if you liked that ending.
Other than the well, and it's the comment that Saucy made that I don't like the sacrifices statement. That means cuts. What are we sacrificing? Is what I want to know.
Yes.
What is going to be sacrificed? I just want to know what it is.
Yes, but there is no doubt that we're going to have to be sacrificing something.
I understand that. I do get it. I understand that. I get it. I hope he doesn't sacrifice the things that the most vulnerable members of society need the most. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If we need to make sacrifices, why don't we make the have-yachts sacrifice and not the have-nots?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be okay. So we're going to add a little extra tax on them and maybe close a loophole here and there. And,
Yeah. But in terms of sacrifices as well, let's be honest, the people who have lost their jobs, who do not have to wait a week to apply for EI, who do not have to go through their severance pay, do not have to wait for their separation report, it's still EI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's not their regular salary. It's not
enough.
Which means sacrifices, right? It doesn't necessarily have to mean that the government is imposing sacrifices. It's just, if you're affected in any way, shape, or form and you have less, then you're making sacrifices. Unwillingly.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, maybe you have some agency in choosing which ones they're going to be, depending on how much margin you have. Not everybody has that. But there are going to be sacrifices, definitely involved. There's going to be some pain, I guess, doing the job of preparing, saying like, don't worry, we will get through this. But it is going to be hard, and I really cannot tell you how long it's going to last. As opposed to, within 2 years we'll have this done, and all this is just stick with me, like, because that's the Donald Trump thing. There's going to be an adjustment required, and like this, don't like this, but you'll see it'll work.
Well,
like this, and it's like there'll be adjustments. You'll see it'll work, but when? In 5 years? In 6 years? And 10 years? How long it will take you to build these plants? Are we supposed to suffer for 8, 9, 10 years? Oh, don't worry, you'll see in the long run it'll be okay. Yeah, how long a long run?
Well, the comment here from the Common Good, I think Carney's being honest and real with us. I don't think he will sacrifice public programs. If you read his book, Values, which I'm currently reading, you understand his economic philosophy acknowledges trickle down doesn't work. So I think we're going to be okay. Where I just want to know where the sacrifices are going to be made. Is all. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all.
Like I said, so that's why I'm saying. That's why I'm just broadening the term here, sacrifices, because immediately when we hear somebody from the government says we're going to cut something, it also means that
your mind
if
goes
we
to
have less, if we have less employment, less work, less revenue, because we're on the island, we're all making some sacrifices.
Yes.
But even like small businesses, right, that would really like to keep their employees because it's like a family and they have to make a cut. Like this, there might be some work sharing or something like that. But again, that's a sacrifice.
Well, it's like the folks who are about to be laid off for 2 weeks. The things that they would normally do, stop at the corner store, bag up. No, they're going to go to the dollar store. They're going to stop going to the diner, to the fast food joint, to the local pub.
Cut the slices of cake smaller so that it lasts longer, so you have more dessert over more days.
Maybe eliminate a subscription service that they have.
Yeah,
this is how it affects everybody, because when somebody loses business, that affects you and me, whether we realize it or not. It's pebble in the pond, right?
Yeah. Well, like I said, so there's all the big cuts, and then there's all the little micro cuts, all the little things that we do ourselves, right? All the things that add some color and texture and joy and light, like this. There could be like COVID when we made sacrifices, right? There were a lot of things that we could not do anymore. And a lot of people that were creative and whatnot tried to compensate by inventing other things that they could do in other ways that they can get what they were getting from those things through another means. And then some people were not creative, right? But humans are extremely adaptable.
Oh, yes.
And flexible, right? We don't like it because we like to be comfortable, but we are extremely adaptable and flexible when need be. But, who wants to give up the extra portion if they don't have to? Right? Yeah. So,
well, we just need enough people to start saying, you know what, I have enough. I have more than enough. Take some from me and share it with my neighbor. We need people to do that.
Yeah. Again, question, is this a natural path through UBI? It could be, depending on how long it lasts.
It could, it very well could.
Because in this case, there would be a lot of savings from avoiding duplication of these types of services.
Yes.
So when Carney keeps on saying we can give more to ourselves than anybody can take away, if we do those types of things, if we do, like, we don't only have like 13 economies, but we're 14 economies, but we have one. If we don't have 14 different service systems for social service and support, but we have one
for everybody. Yeah,
that does, right? So it does open the door to these types of things, whether or not they choose to walk through them. But it does create conditions that are favorable. Now, of course, to get to the UBI, though, the conditions would have to be disfavorable for quite a long time to get the provinces on board.
Well, and let's remember
that is possible.
The UBI is a progressive, conservative idea.
Oh, yeah.
Bootstraps,
just like the carbon tax was, though.
Yes. I know.
And just like David Johnston and Mark Carney were once conservative ideas.
I know.
conservatives don't seem to be all that into actual conservatism anymore. Let's just put it that way. All right. So we get to some Q&As here. The first question was asked in French. I will show the English response. It was basically asked, well, given that we do have these tariffs, does that mean that your talks were not successful?
Mm-hmm.
A bit of a simple question, really.
Yeah, I would say so.
Not a lot of research there.
No. Okay. Bring it up.
Both sovereign countries.
You're absolutely right. The core tariffs with respect to fentanyl, automobiles, steel and aluminum remain in place. With respect to an enormous series of trade measures that were announced yesterday, we have the best deal of a series of tough deals, bad deals in many respects. That is progress. That is recognizing the partnership. As well, what was also progress in the call the President and I had last week is this agreement that we will sit down, future Prime Minister and him as President will sit down and begin negotiations on the overall economic and security partnership with Canada. And that's important, in my judgment, because we will not make progress on individual items. We can only make progress as a whole in a relationship that is being redefined. And of course, as I said in my remarks, and as I said to the President, and as I said at the time, I'm working hard to ensure, or to earn the right, rather, to represent Canada at those negotiations.
As a follow-up, will you impose a coordinated response with other?
Were you about to say something, sir?
Yeah, so just the end, because that was the end of the time slot at 25:57, and we can move to the next question to 29:46. Mr. Grizzly, if you would allow the next 3 timestamps, given that they're back-to-back, to just run consecutively, that would allow me to take a small break to go to the Little Beavers room.
Okey-dokey, I can do that.
We're going to talk here about the journalists are asking about the need, because he's stated several times now that the economic and defense security relationship is over. So he's being asked about the security part of this, because everybody's asked a lot about the economic part. He will be asked to offer a little bit more about our response on steel and aluminum, and then a journalist asks about the prospect of future conversations with IQ 47.
Okie dokie.
A new CUSMA, or is that some other deal that renegotiates NORAD or some other broader security agreement?
So it's, from our perspective, if I may, that there have been so many, I would say from our perspective, as government, my personal perspective, also from the perspective of workers, businesses, investors, Canadians, there have been so many violations, outright violations of CUSMA. There's supposed to be, I'll give you one example, one of many examples, but for steel and aluminum, there's an explicit side letter in CUSMA which says that there needs to be 60-day consultations for any changes. That obviously was not the case. There are many other examples of this. There have been so many of these violations that there is a need to have a renegotiation and a reaffirmation of which elements of the commercial relationship, the trading relationship, stand. Now, they may change, given the objectives of the United States. They may change, given, in fact, I think they will change from our perspective as well, in terms of what we need to do that's best for Canada, given the new U.S. position on so many things. As well, it is sensible, in my judgment, that we also discuss defense and security partnership. We have a long-standing defense and security partnership. Some of that partnership is for security, but it's also a commercial relationship. And we want to make sure that commercial relationship works for Canada. I will observe that 80%, 80 cents on every dollar that we spend on military equipment in its broadest sense goes to the United States. In the current stance of the relationship, that doesn't make sense. So we want to sit down and have everything on the table and have that discussion, everything on the table within commercial, subject to my previous response to the last question.
So I understand that not to be all balled up in one agreement, separate agreements, but in the future negotiation then, I want to understand what you take from President Trump's 12% reciprocal tariff, sort of that he has hanging over Canada, even if he lifts the border tariffs you call unjustified.
So I think there are several things, if I may, and it's hard to predict all elements of this, but there's certain sectors in the North American economy, the Canadian-U.S. economy, that fundamentally rely on the integration in those sectors. There's no better example of this than in autos, where it literally has been built up over my entire lifetime. And that the competitive threat in North America is from Asia, not within North America. And it will become our judgment, and the judgment, I would say, of virtually everybody who works in the auto industry, virtually everyone, not everyone, not the UAW apparently, but I think they're going to find out, that this is going to damage the U.S. auto industry as well as the Canadian auto industry. And it's going to damage the industry relative to competition from Asia. So when there's that discussion, the question, part of the discussion is going to be, how do we put back together elements of that integration? And if it's not going to come, how are we going to act in Canada? And we're going to do this, elements of this anyways, if my government is elected, which is to build a true Made in Canada strategy that makes us much more resilient with the U.S. So, Tonda, I can't pre-wire all those discussions, but what I know is that trying to have a discussion, given the scale of ambition of the United States, given all the measures they've taken, not just against Canada, but against the whole world, that we are not going to make progress if we try to focus on only one issue. We need to reset the overall relationship. We need to set the boundaries around that, where we're going to work together, reestablish confidence, first and foremost for Canadian workers and their families, so that they know where their careers are, where their jobs are, and then more broadly for investors and business. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Jillian Piper with Global News. Are you planning to have another phone call with President Donald Trump to discuss these tariffs?
If it's appropriate, we will. We agreed that we would, when we last spoke, that we would talk as needed over the coming weeks. So it may happen. There's not one scheduled, and as I said, I'll just reiterate. When we spoke, I did advise the president that we would be retaliating against the auto tariffs. We were going to wait to see what happened with these reciprocal tariffs that were announced yesterday. We have taken a very focused, calibrated response, balanced response, one that creates incentives for the automakers. So as appropriate, we will speak. I'm very conscious, we're very conscious that there are additional measures likely to come in other sectors, including forest products, pharmaceuticals, and others.
You said previously that the relationship that Canada had with the United States is now over. Is the U.S. still our ally?
The U.S. Absolutely. Look, the U.S. is absolutely our ally. It's our ally in security and defense partnerships. It's our most important security ally. For example, it's still, even with these tariffs, the largest trading partners. The point I made last week, the point I made again today, is part of what our relationship has been based on, though, has been a degree of integration between our economies, our trade becoming closer and closer together. That is over. I mean, we saw that that was ending a while ago. It's now emphatic. I think the world is learning that that is over. That creates real challenges for us. We're not sugarcoating it. We're absolutely clear about that. It also, though, creates an enormous opportunity for a country like Canada, which has virtually everything that the world wants, has a lot of things that the U.S. wants, and they're going to find out how much they want it with these tariffs. So we have virtually everything the world wants. And when I talk to leaders in Europe, when I talk to the Mexican president, they want to work with us. They want to cooperate with us. And I'll say one other thing, if I may, and then hand, which is one of the things, and I'll go back to Team Canada, Premier Smith, Premier Moe, Monsieur le Premier Ministre Legault, all of those premiers in the very short term either have just gone on major trade initiatives to Europe in some cases, or about to go to trade missions in Asia. That's the Team Canada approach. That's the coordinated approach that we need. And I think Canadians, again, not sugarcoating the challenges, but can be very encouraged about the sense of purpose and action at different levels to move forward.
All right.
Les alliés ou...
So, a series of questions there, and the last one being the big one, right? Is the United States still our ally? If all these times are over.
It's up for debate.
It's up
Five
for debate.
Eyes is looking like it's going to be Four Eyes soon. I mean, NATO, the world order is shifted dramatically.
Yeah.
It started with his belittling of Ukraine President Zelensky in the Oval Office. It started there. It fundamentally changed the world order for the last 80 years. And where we go from here, I don't know. We will emerge. Look, Laurier said that the 20th century would be Canada's century. He was off by 100 years, but that's fine. The 21st century is proving to be Canada's century. Look, the advancements we made as a globally recognized nation under Prime Minister Trudeau cannot be sidestepped. You can't overlook those. And what Mark Carney has done in the very brief tenure is incredible. He's like, our relationship is over. That's it. If you won't lead, we will. I'm like, holy shit. That exactly, playing with 3D. That's a watershed moment.
It is.
It's something that I never thought we'd ever see, and here we are. It happened. I watched it happen in real time and said, "Oh, I like this, man," because he's saying things I've been thinking for decades.
Right, and when you compare and contrast with the other guy, we're broken. Look at all the stuff that we did. We're dependent. We're weak.
We're the fentanyl capital of the world.
Yeah,
It's
and this guy's
fentanyl, not null, to begin with, and no, we aren't.
Yes, and we have this guy saying, "Hey, if the United States wants to screw up, we'll just keep doing what we're doing, and then we'll leapfrog them. If the United States doesn't want to lead, we will. The United States wants to go without us, fine. Let's see how long it lasts before they determine that they actually do need us." There's a bit of cockiness even. And as a Canadian, I'm not used to being cocky, but I kind of like it.
Well,
in this particular context,
it's quiet cockiness.
Well, it's one of those things, right? It's like Canadians know how good we have it.
Oh, yes.
That's why we always roll our eyes when we hear an American going, "Only in America could the son of somebody come up and then become an elected congressman." No, we do that here all the time. Right? So, I mean, we don't become congressmen, elected representatives, but we do that here all the time, right? We have punch above our weight in many areas, and we just have this quiet confidence that we will do it. And again, nobody beats up on a Canadian more than a Canadian.
True.
Right? We're the hardest on ourselves. So
really
everything here is terrible. Look at what the United States has. Why don't we have that? Like this. And it's like when we got like one of the best countries in the world. Hands down. I personally believe it's the best, but I'm a little biased. But objectively, one of the best countries in the world. Just by virtue of the fact the number of people who want to come here.
Oh, yes.
Right? So this, we can, maybe it's not cocky. Maybe it's just plain confidence. And it just seems like cocky because we don't really do even the confident thing. We're the Boy Scout. We like to help. We're here. Right? That's not the, I was like, it's not like we can help and we help better than anybody else.
No.
Right? It's just like, yeah, we can help. So, but in this particular context, whether you call it a little bit of cockiness or confidence or whatnot, I like it.
Yes, very much.
I like it a lot. We'll get to one last question 3918. This is a big one. We'll skip the one before because it's just back. Somebody said, "Are you sure about defense?" I was like, yes, it includes defense, security. But this is the other big question that people are, of course, asking.
Considerations.
Last question.
Yeah.
You talked about how long and hard the road could be for Canadians if Mr. Trump keeps these tariffs in place. How long and hard, and is Canada headed towards a recession?
Well, look, I think it starts with what the implications of these tariffs, yesterday's tariffs, which affect all economy, virtually every economy in the world, means for the global economy and the U.S. economy, and the U.S. economy which is slowing, U.S. economy where inflation is starting to pick up, where financial conditions is going to start to tighten, and a U.S. economy which has a possibility of tipping into recession themselves. So it starts there. It is usually the case that when the United States has a recession, that it's very difficult for Canada to avoid something similar. There's been exceptions to that. With the financial crisis, 2008-9, when I was governor, we avoided a recession. We need to take action now for short-term support and reimagine our economy for the medium term. And I won't go through the list of things. You personally have had to hear them a few times, but it is about that one Canadian economy, and it's about building everything from homes to new energy infrastructure to new ports and trade infrastructure. By doing that, and by doing that in a way that is as coordinated and impactful and immediate as possible, we create a real possibility. In fact, probability. It's not just right for the medium term, but it's right for the short term. And that, in many ways, is what's at stake right now. Yes, we have to respond to the U.S., and we are responding appropriately. Yes, absolutely, first and foremost, protect our workers. But we need to do much more than that, which is to build this economy. And in doing that, we can avoid the slowdown that is coming. Well, we can do better than the United States. That's my point. We can do better than the United States. Exactly where that comes out depends on how much damage they do to their economy.
Thanks, everyone. That concludes.
En français, sur le dernier aspect.
So there you go. Will there be a recession? Is the United States still our ally? What do you actually mean by the security era is over? Big questions. Weighty questions for which he's keeping it real.
Yes.
There are certain things he cannot say yet because he does not know. There's certain things he cannot say because, well, we're not alone. We're going to do something, and we expect that we're going to get some type of reaction and response to which we will respond, to which they will respond, and goes back and forth. And the United States is slightly unpredictable, predictable only in its unpredictability. So, he can't turn around and say, listen, everything's going to be all right and it's going to be painless. He's keeping it very real. But again, as he said at the beginning, of all the stuff, not today, but since he's came on the scene, I believe that plan is better than no plan. And clearly, this man has a plan.
Yes, he does. It's quite evident.
Right? So, lots of turmoil, proper tone, calm, reasoned, confident, real, acknowledging stuff, not sugarcoating stuff, but at least giving us the confidence that we can get through this. And you know what? For all the pain it might cause, we might actually come out of it better and stronger at the other end. Compare and contrast with Pierre.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the same message. Pierre keeps on telling us how we're weak. And it's going to be devastating, and this might crush us and all that kind of stuff. Mark Carney is not saying that this does not have the potential to be devastating. That's one part where they both agree. He's just way more optimistic in our abilities. And his own abilities as well. Pierre knows he doesn't have the economic chops. Pierre knows he doesn't have the economic chops.
Yes.
Mr. Grizzly, how is your endurance?
I got to be out of here in 5 minutes.
Okay, so we So we can't. Okay, I've been trying to show PP cosplaying for 3 days, but the other news is it's just so much, and I'm sorry, the Prime Minister is always going to take precedence over the Leader of Opposition.
Well, maybe this afternoon sometime.
Okay, we could do
I'm
that
out of
because
town tomorrow, so tomorrow's out of the question.
okay, yeah, we could do a part 2.
Yeah, maybe we could do something later today. I'm working on stuff in the background here, but yeah, maybe we can do something a little later on today. Yeah, why don't we say around 1? Does that work for you?
That works for me.
You and I should meet online around 12:30. I can go over some stuff. Maybe we can get your computer operational.
Yes.
Okay, let's do that today, and yeah, we'll come back at 1 p.m. I just need to check and make sure nobody else is broadcasting at that time.
No, to make sure that's a better idea, because the only reason this isn't, if we leave the PP part next week, then it kind of gets a little stale, and you have the compare and the contrast is very, very important here. So okay, Friday double beaver. Hey. All right, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
Since we're doing double beaver. All right, kids and cubs. Ooh, I'm so excited. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Now, if you would like to make sure that you do not miss an episode in our podcast form, if you like to have us on the go, well, you do not have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, who has very generously supported our pod page. If you scan that QR code that has just appeared, or if you're listening, go to podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, zippity-doo-dah right into your inbox. Just like that. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, then you need to make like Kit Elaine and Kit Cassie and grab your surfboard and ride the wave, baby, to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where I am very happy to announce, kids and cubs, we have crossed the 16,000 subscriber mark. So thank you to all of you who have been joining in during the election campaign. Actually, it's 16,100 now. Hey, there you go. It flipped to 1,600 while we're doing the show, and got another 100 while we're doing it. Thank you so much for joining us, checking us out while we're on, and deciding that you like what you see.
Well,
Thank you.
The ad campaign I had ends today, so we'll see how much more we get.
Right.
I had the promotions ended. We did the 2 promotions. Those ended, and then I started a 5-day ad campaign to see, and it's brought us a lot of new subscribers. So
it has indeed.
We'll have to go over some numbers for that, see if we can run it again.
Okay, cool, excellent. That would be good. Yep, we should take a look at that. So if you would like to support us in other ways, well, hey, we have our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. If you like our product and would like to encourage us to do more, an Add a Beaver cup of hot chocolate or an Add a Grizzly cup of coffee, black, like his heart. Right. That's not true. That's not true. His heart is not black.
Coffee black, but whiskey neat, steak rare, Guinness. That's it. Nothing more to say. That's it.
The man cave.
Ribeye rare.
So if you would like to help us with that, a little financial contribution to help us with the costs of bringing the show to you would be very much appreciated. And you can do that by scanning that QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head, which will bring you to our coffee page. As I mentioned before, coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And if you could drop a little something into our tip jar, we love to hear the jingling sound. So thank you so very much for those enthusiastic expressions of support. Now, we'd like to hear from you. Please write to us. If you have, by the way, I saw a request in the chat for somebody asking just a Q&A show. I'd be really happy to do a Q&A show. So if you have any questions, not only just about the show, because we mentioned that in the podcast, if you have questions about the show and background, how we do stuff, that's one thing. But if you actually have questions political stuff, whatnot, send them to us. Like, listen, if we have enough of them, then we'll put them together and do a Q&A show. Absolutely, we'd be very happy to do that. A great suggestion from you kids and cubs. So please do just send your Q&A questions to truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. And then when we have enough, we'll definitely put together a show for you. We'd love to do that. We love audience participation. So whoever suggested and put that idea out, thank you so much. We're definitely down with that. All right. So truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is where you write us to send us those questions or any other comments that you have about the show. You can also reach us at trueeager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge and at the Bad Place on Jitter. And you can also reach us at our original home on the web, True North Eager Beaver, on Facebook, which was our original blog page. Or if you do happen to be listening right here on YouTube, well, hey, how about leaving a little comment down here in the section? We do read everything, not able to get back to everyone, but we do read everything, and all your comments help to make the show better. Our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, is also where, if you would prefer to not have to deal with a tech bro when you're making a donation to your favorite beaver and grizzly, to do it in a 100% Canadian fashion. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is where you just send a direct bank transfer, your bank, our bank, no CE bros, 100% Canadian transaction, and bonus, we get 100% of your donation. So for all of you who are able to help that way, thank you very much. Now, if you're not able to help financially, please do not worry, because the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that matter the most to us. And that's why we ask you to write to us. So please do. We really do want to hear from you. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, remember that there's a Quebec Liberal leadership race. There's a PC race in Manitoba. Deadline date for your mail-in votes is April 22nd. So please get them in with the results on the 26th. And yesterday, as we mentioned, if you want to vote early in the federal election, you can do so at your Elections Canada office via a special ballot. I believe you can order your mail ballots now, so please do that. And of course, we gave you dates yesterday for early voting and all that kind of stuff. In terms of the polling stations, I believe that starts on April 18th, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, till the 22nd. So please keep in mind all the ways that you do have to vote. April 18th to the 21st, sorry. And with, again, special ballot voting in acute care facilities such as hospitals from April 20 to 22nd. And on campus, Canadian Armed Forces from the 14th to the 19th, incarcerated electors on April 16th, and on campus from April 13th to 16th. So those days are coming up. Remember, if you are on campus, you have the choice to vote in the electoral district in which you live or the one in which you are studying, one or the other. Okay, but you just have to make the choice. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Trying to come up with something today, and I'm rather bereft of ideas. I think it's, I'm hungry. So when you're hungry, feed yourself, because food helps your brain. And right now mine is not functioning well. I haven't had breakfast yet, so I think I'm going to get a bite to eat just before I take Ms. out, because she's staring at me and I got to be somewhere. Shit, I'm late. All right, I got to go.
All right, Mr. Grizzly,
I'm late.
Please cue the cock, and we will have no Easter egg today. We'll do it later. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.